Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. So now we're moving on to the next lesson where we discuss the I'rab of the Fa'il. And we've covered this many times in other books of Nahw, and it's quite simple. So now we are right here. Okay. So faslun fi asnafi i'rabil fa'il. So now we're a section regarding the sinf mentioned before when we had the ism, the types of the i'rab of the fa'il. And here it particularly refers to al-fa'ilul mudari' because the fa'il madi does not have an i'rab. Okay? وهي أربعة. Now, so the fa'il mudari', you can divide all of these sighas into four. Okay? Into four. Well, okay. So what he says here, so you have marfu, mansoob and majzoom, the rafa state, the nasab state and the jazm state. The first type of sigha is the mufrad as-sahih ghayr al-mukhataba. So first of all, let's make one categorization, makes it very easy. The first categorization is those which have noon al-i'rab at the end and those which don't have noon al-i'rab at the end. So for example, we have yaqulani, okay, or yaquluna. Yes. So the same way, the ani, the noon at the end, or the una, or muslimatun, muslimatin, the dhamma shows marfu state. Similarly, this noon is meant to show the marfu state of the fa'il. So this noon is the marfu state of the fa'il. Understood? This is the marfu state of the fa'il. Okay? Now, if a fa'il has one of those, that's the fourth type, the last one. That's very simple. We'll discuss at the end. We're now discussing basically those which don't have noon al-i'rab. Basically, the yaf'alu, taf'alu, af'alu, naf'alu. Yes? So those which have noon al-i'rab at the end, when they're marfu, they don't have noon al-i'rab at the end, sorry. Provided, and now those that don't have noon al-i'rab at the end, they have two types. So we have fa'ilun mudari'. There's either noon al-i'rab or no noon al-i'rab. If there's no noon al-i'rab, then we have to see, is it sahih or ghayru sahih? Ghayru sahih. Meaning mu'tal. It's mu'tal. Mu'tal or sahih. Yes? If it's mu'tal, then we have to see, is it mu'tal alif or mu'tal waw and ya? They have the same rule, mu'talul waw and ya. This is the first category. This is the first category. This is the second category. This is the third, and this is the fourth. And he hasn't discussed the one with noonun niswa, because the sighas with noonun niswa, as we mentioned before, is mabni. So this also has i'rab, the one with noonun niswa, but because this i'rab is not manifested, not shown, he hasn't discussed it here. So the four categories, this one's the first one, the sahih. Then, if it's mu'tal, mu'talul waw and ya, and mu'talul alif. And then those that have noonul i'rab at the end. Have you understood the four categories of mudari'? Really five, but the noonun niswa doesn't have i'rab. It has i'rab, but the i'rab is not shown. So everyone understood the categorization? Yes. Okay, so let's leave this for now. So, if we have a mufrad sahih, meaning, when he means by mufrad, he means here, no noonul i'rab. And amongst those, we have the mutakallim. For example, naf'alu is taghliban. That's not mufrad, but it is still included in this group. So for example, this example from Birkwi, he says here, nuhibbu is marfu'. So look, dhamma. An-nashfa, we hope that we can intercede for others on the day of Qiyamah. Walam nuhram. So look, marfu', mansoob, majzoom state. In a marfu' state there's a dhamma, mansoob state there's a fatha, and majzoom state there's a sukoon or a hazful haraka. Okay? So hazful haraka, sukoon is the same thing. Yes, now I have to erase this now. The second is what? Naqis. So naqis, ya'i and wawi, meaning has a waw at the end or a ya at the end. So when it has a rafa, the dhamma al-muqaddara. When it's fatha, when it's mansoob, it has a fatha. And when it's jazm, the hazful akhir. So for example, nad'u. So nad'u originally should have been nad'ubu, nad'ubu. But because it's thiqal on the lisan, nad'ubu, reciting and enunciating a dhamma on a harful illa, enunciating a dhamma on a waw, and a kasra on a ya, is thaqil, is very burdensome or cumbersome on the tongue. So therefore we change that dhamma and we say the dhamma is muqaddara, change to sukoon and we say, well, we hide the dhamma. So it is dhamma but muqaddara. So nad'u. So nad'u Allah an ya'fuwa. We pray to Allah that He forgives us. Now here, this is now mansoob. So you can see the fatha, a normal fatha. And then when you make it majzoom, the original rule of majzoom is you remove the haraka. So yarmi should have been, yarmina should have been yarmina, yarmina. Correct? But the problem is, in the harful illa, when you have harful illa, the sakin has already been dropped in the marfu state. We already dropped the sukoon, we already dropped the haraka here. So now, you can't drop the haraka because there will be no difference between these two. So therefore you drop the harful illa altogether. And it becomes lam yarmina fin nar. So we pray to Allah that He forgives us and He does not throw us in the fire of Jahannam. Ameen. Understood? The second category? Yes? And this has all been done in Birkwi before. Okay? Then the third type is where we have naqis alifi, meaning there's alif at the end. So now here, the dhamma al-muqaddara here is just like this, but also the alif al-muqaddara in the mansoob state. Why? For example, nas'a, sa'a, yas'a, it ends in an alif. So like nas'a. Correct? That's marfu, so dhamma al-muqaddara. And in yarda, it should really be yardaya. So yardaya. But the fatha is muqaddara because what's the rule? When you have, whether you have yardayu or whether you have yardaya, it makes no difference because who can remember the rule from Tasrif al-Izzi? Yardayu or yardaya? Infitahi ma qablaha. Because before the waw, before the ya, the harful illa, what is there? A fatha. What is there? A fatha. So in both scenarios, the ya changes into an alif, written as an standing alif, standing fatha, alif khanjariya or a kara zabar. So yardayu becomes yarda and yardaya becomes yarda. So in here, we say the dhamma is muqaddara and in here the fatha is muqaddara. So nas'a an yardallahu anna walam nansa. We try that Allah becomes happy. We made an effort that Allah becomes happy with us. And nasiya yansa, nisyanan is to forget. So nansa, so it really should have been nansahu. And we did not forget him, nansahu. But now we drop the harful illa because it's the hazful akhir. We remove the last letter. Everybody following? Yes? So now here remove the last letter. And then the fourth scenario is the one I mentioned first. This is when you have a tasniya or jama' mudhakkar or a mukhataba. Whether it's sahih or not, it doesn't matter. Basically, as long as it has a noonul i'rab at the end. So what will happen? The noonul i'rab. Noon i'rab means noonul i'rab ay adalla ala raf'i. So the noon itself shows the rafa state. So al-anbiya'u wal-ulama'u yashfa'ani. So this noon is in which state? The marfu state. The noon is a sign of a marfu state. Therefore, when the fa'il is marfu, the noon will remain intact. When it's majzoom state, fanarju, we hope an yashfa'a lana, the noon is dropped off. So we hope and pray that they intercede on our behalf with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Walam yu'rida anna, and a'rada yu'ridu, turn away. So now this is jazam state, nasab state. In both scenarios, the noon has been removed. So it is marfu with keeping the noon, and it is majzoom and mansoob by removing the noon, hazfin noon. Any questions regarding this? No? Okay. So now he's explaining. So he says here that there are four types. The first one, as I said to you before, is in this order here. Al-Awwalu an yakuna ar-raf'u bi-dhamm. The first scenario and situation is that the rafa occurs with a dhamma. وَالنَّسْبُ بِالْفَتْحَةِ. The nasab occurs with a fatha. وَالْجَزْمُ بِالسُّكُونِ. And the jazm state occurs with a sukoon. وَيَخْتَصُّ بِالْمُفْرَدِ الصَّحِيحِ غَيْرِ الْمُخَاطَبَةِ. And this is specific to the mufrad, meaning those sighas which don't have noonul i'rab, And the mufrad also includes the mutakallimun siga, ya mutakallim ma'a ghayrihi. The jam'ul mutakallim siga is also included in this. Sahih, has to be sahih. غير المخاطبة, not the mukhataba. The mukhataba is also mufrad, but that is what? تفعلين has a noon al-i'rab at the end. Okay? تقول هو يدرب ولن يدرب ولم يدرب. So here dhamma for a rafa, fatha for a nasab, and it's jazm for a sukun for the halatul jazm. Yes? No questions? It's quite simple. We've done this before and it's quite simple layout. Understood? Yes. الثاني أن يكون الرفع بثبوت النون والنصب والجزم بحذفها. So I got the order wrong from here, but I did it laid out in my order. The second one is what we had in number 4. Is that the rafa is by keeping the noon, the nasab and the jazm is by removing the noon. ويختص, this is specific to tasniya, جمع المذكر والمفرد المخاطبة صحيحا كان أو غيره. This is specific to the muthanna sighas, the جمع المذكر sighas, and the mufrad mukhataba, the mukhataba sigha. Sahihan kana aw ghayrahu. Sahihan, this is khabar muqaddam of kana, and this is atf, ma'tuf. Kana sahihan aw ghayrahu. The structure, you put the ma'tuf, whether, you put the khabar first, then kana, then harful atf aw, then the other one. Maridan kana aw sahihan, musafiran kana aw muqiman, musliman kana aw kafiran, rajulan kana aw imra'atan. So you have that structure. You put one variable here, a variable here, you put kana, and the zamir will change accordingly, then aw, then the other variable. Musliman kana aw kafira, mu'minan kana aw munafiqa, sahabiyan kana aw ghayra sahabiyin, rajulan kana aw imra'atan, waladan kana aw rajulan. So it's either. Okay? Whether it is sahih or not sahih. تقول هما يفعلان وهم يفعلون وأنت تفعلين. So these are the marfu states. These are all marfu. What happens in the marfu states? The noon stays intact, the noon stays intact, and the noon stays intact. This is an example of the dual, example of the plural, example of the mukhataba. وَلَن يَفْعَلَ وَلَن يَفْعَلُوا وَلَن تَفْعَلِي. So these are the mansoob states where the noon drops. And the majzoom states, وَلَمْ تَفْعَلَ وَلَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَمْ تَفْعَلِي. Understood? Yes? والثالث أن يكون الرفع بتقدير ضم والنصب بالفتحة لفظا والجزم بحذف الآخر. And the third is that the rafa is with a dhamma muqaddara, nasab is a fatha, lafzan you can actually see it, والجزم بحذف اللام. This is for wawi and ya'i. ويختص بالناقص. This is specific to a naqis, but not any naqis, only that naqis which is ya'i or wawi. Apart from the tasniya and jama' mukhatab, meaning it doesn't have a noon i'rab at the end. It has noon i'rab at the end. The i'rab will be according to number 2. So yarmi, this is what? Naqis ya'i, naqis wawi, and there's no noon at the end, not tasniya, not jama', not mukhataba. So in marfu say it should have been yarmiyu and yaghzuwu, but because enunciation becomes thaqila fal lisan, you do remove the dhamma, and you say dhamma muqaddara, and you give it a sukoon. Yaghzu and yarmi. And in mansoob say you can actually see the fatha, lan yarmiya, lam yaghzu, lan yaghzuwa, and in the harf when it has a lam, a jazima before it, you're supposed to make it a sukoon, but we've already given sukoon in this state, so then we have no choice now to make additional removal, but you remove the entire harful illa. وَلَمْ يَرْمِ وَلَمْ يَغْزُ. So instead of yarmi, it becomes lam yarmi وَيَغْزُ, lam yaghzu. Fahimtum? Musab, you following? Any other questions? Yes, anybody has any questions? الرابع أن يكون الرفع بتقدير الضمة والنصب بتقدير الفتح والفتحة والجزم بحذف اللام. So now you have the dhamma is marfu, is muqaddar in the marfu state, and the nasab is also muqaddar in the mansoob state, and the jazm is also removed. For example, and this is ويختص بالناقص الأليفي. This is specific to the naqis alifi apart from the tasniya, jama' and the mukhataba. For example, yas'a, huwa yas'a. So here in marfu state it's with a yas'ayu, but it becomes yas'a because of the rule I mentioned before. When you have a ya preceded by a so yas'ayu, when you have a mutaharrik preceded by a fatha, it becomes what? Alif. Walan yas'a is supposed to be lan yas'aya, but the same rule again. You have a ya mutaharrik preceded by a fatha, it becomes an alif. So lan yas'a, and then here you drop off the harful illa, lam yas'a. Yes, any questions? Yeah? So now we've covered how do we express the i'rab. Next lesson we discuss what things causes marfu state, what things cause mansoob state, or what things cause the majzoom state. And there is a bit of discussion, not in the next one, but in the mansoob and majzoom. Marfu is very simple. Okay? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك.